I'm Spencer Mazyck, and joining me now to discuss the reasons why general counsels fire law firms is Lisa Hart Shepherd. She is the CEO of Acritas, a legal market research firm. Welcome, Lisa. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, delighted to be here.
So, Lisa, according to your research, about 30% of corporate clients fired, or if you want to say dropped a law firm within the last year. Do we know whether or not this is more or less than previous years?
No, it's actually the first time we've asked this question. So I think this is, we have no way of knowing whether it's been higher or lower, but by the strength of the sentiment that came through, I certainly think it's something that goes on quite often.
And so you interviewed 2,500 GCs in 45 different countries. So tell us, what's the number one reason why law firms get fired?
Well, the number one reason coming out is pricing. So pricing can be a number of different aspects. It can be the overall level of price, so just too expensive. It can be the value in relation to that level of price, so under-delivered. It can also be around the billing practices, for example. So all of those areas come together, and it's certainly something that we're seeing increasing this year in the survey, because it's an annual survey that we do, this sentiment around just law firms being too expensive.
Well, I was going to say that's not all too surprising to me, because aren't clients constantly trying to keep legal costs low?
Yes, they are, and they just feel that things aren't as efficient as they can be. That law firms need to be get better around using better project management systems, more sensible resource allocation, moving some of their lawyers out of the expensive city locations that they're in. And there's just a feeling that the industry needs to go through a sort of phase of cleanup.
Okay, and so what were some of the other reasons why law firms were given pink slips?
Well, there was three other reasons that really follow on from price, and the first two that I'm going to talk about were mentioned as nearly as many times as price. So the first one being expertise. So this was when there'd been some kind of breakdown in the quality of legal advice. So that might be it's just generally poor and not up to standard. It might be it's been inconsistent. So they've used a new area or a new office of the firm that hasn't been as good as the other areas. It might be that they've lost people from the firm, so they feel that strength of expertise has walked out. And generally it just might feel that it's not specialist enough for the areas that they need to take advice on.
Many people believe that whenever a partner leaves the firm, so does his business if he's going to another firm. But does your research seem to indicate that perhaps in some cases the firm could have retained that business?
Yes, absolutely. And more we're seeing that actually when partners walk to other firms, they don't tend to take as much as the book of business as they expected. So certainly because of the learning curve that many firms get as matters get more and more complex and international, they don't want to let that go. So if anything, they prefer to stay with the firm. But unfortunately, quite often firms just don't handle it very well when a partner leaves. They might, if you're lucky, send along a potential substitute partner to take them out for lunch. They're not worrying about convincing, the client that they're still committed to them as a client. They're going to work to transfer that knowledge and understanding. So that really is sort of bringing on to the next main reason why they'll fire firms, which is around relationships and the relationship that may follow the lateral hire.
Well, yeah, and it's the same reason, too, why the firm can't retain business whenever the partner retires or even leaves the industry, right?
Absolutely. All the same things happen, really, and sometimes firms just really let them go, or that's certainly how the client feels. And I guess the third area is around service. So this might be just really being slow to respond. And in today's market, people need responses quick. If if you can't respond immediately, they need to know when you're going to respond. They can't afford for things to be late and hanging around. So simple responsiveness is really the main reason for that final area of breakdown.
Well, and can law firms keep a client or stop a client from leaving if there is this perception that the firm offers poor service and is slow to respond?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
And service is probably the easiest thing to fix. And I think, the main problem with law firms is that they aren't asking often enough and proactively enough clients how they're doing in all these areas.
Yeah, I was going to say how important is client feedback here?
It's highly important. And if firms were doing that more, they'd understand where there might be problem areas. They could rescue clients that are at risk. We all know when we've been somewhere and you've been a service breakdown, if the establishment establishment handles it well, sometimes it can foster a stronger relationship. And really, law firms are just going ahead not knowing how most of their clients are feeling.
Well, and so law firms shouldn't feel then that maybe it might be burdensome for clients to provide feedback, because I think that's sometimes what people feel.
Yes, but clients can always say no. I mean, we run a lot of these client feedback programs, and it's very rare that they'll say no. Normally, if they're too busy, they'll say, can we schedule it for, another month's time or something like that. But most of these people are spending thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds with these law firms, or millions of dollars in the US case, and they want that opportunity to say how the firm could improve.
Yeah, and so that is different than if somebody's asking me for feedback on, a purchase that I just made, or if somebody's just asking me feedback on my cable service. Law firms, like you said, I mean, they're getting millions of dollars from these clients, so they might be interested in providing feedback.
Yes, in all of those areas. So how are we doing in terms of quality? How are we doing in terms of service? Are we managing the relationship effectively with you? And coming back to that issue of value and price, if you find that when you're doing this kind of feedback exercise that everybody is complaining about your prices, then potentially there's a problem and you might be overpriced. If they never complain about price, then potentially there's room to put your rates up.
Well, so what are some other reasons, other ways that law firms can actually keep business?
Well, some of the reasons which law firms have been dropped or fired was really because the workload had come to an end in that particular practice area that they were using the firm. And if firms can work hard to broaden out relationships, so look more to sort of the agency style of effective account management, broadening those relationships out into other areas means that that kind of work just doesn't come to an end. Hopefully it'll be replaced with other areas as they sort of go up and down in demand.
Well, and I understand that you can't name names specifically, but can you tell us at least a little bit more about the companies who were surveyed? Who were they?
We interview, 2,500. Half of those are in what we call the elite category, so they'll have at least $1 billion in revenue. And as you mentioned earlier, we're doing that over 45 different countries. So really we're looking to talk to the Forbes 2000, the Fortune 1000, the FTSE 350, also the largest organizations in China, Australia, Japan. And most often we're interviewing the general counsel.
Well, and some of the firms that were axed or terminated, they included big names with international practices, right?
Absolutely, and more often than not, they are the firms that get mentioned.
Well, and so what, did you discover anything else surprising about this year's survey?
I think one of the things that surprises me, there's still complacency in the market. There's still a little bit of arrogance that goes on. So even in this difficult market with flattish demand, firms and some of the biggest name lawyers are taking their clients for granted. And it's really something that clients won't stand for anymore.
No, that's pretty shocking to hear that. Well, and so Lisa, finally, can you just tell us a little bit about the services that your company provides?
Yes, delighted to. So we're basically a research company that specializes in law firms. So aside from this global survey that we do, which really helps law firms to plan international strategy, look at the way trends are evolving, we also do exercises like client feedback programs on behalf of firms.
Well, it sounds incredibly useful, and thank you for sharing some of that information and research with us today. We really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you very much.
For more information on this or other topics, subscribe to BloombergLaw.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for joining us. Bye, everybody.